My name is Sarah Chen, and 6 months ago, my entire family was sitting around our dining table, laughing hysterically at what they called the stupidest business idea they'd ever heard. My dad actually said, "Sarah, this is so ridiculous." "It's embarrassing." My mom shook her head and said, "Honey, maybe it's time to get a real job." My older sister Emma rolled her eyes and said, "This is why you'll never be successful like me." Last week, that stupid business idea generated $847,000 in revenue in a single day. It went viral on TikTok with 47 million views, got featured on Good Morning America, and landed me a deal with Target stores nationwide. But here's the crazy part. The moment everything changed wasn't when I got my first sale or even my first 1,000 sales. It was when my dad, the same man who called my idea embarrassing, posted a video on his Facebook bragging about his genius entrepreneur daughter to all his friends. The same sister who said I'd never be successful. She now works for ME as my head of marketing, making more money than she ever did at her corporate job. This is the story of how a joke business became a multi-million-dollar empire, and how I turned my family's laughter into the sweetest sound of success. Let me set the scene for you. I come from a traditional Asian American family in San Francisco. My parents, David and Linda Chen, immigrated from Taiwan in the 1980s with nothing but suitcases and dreams. Dad worked his way up to become a successful accountant. Mom became a nurse practitioner. Classic immigrant success story, right? But here's the thing about my family. Success to them meant one thing: stability. Get good grades, go to a prestigious university, get a safe corporate job, work for 30 years, retire with a pension. That was the Chen family blueprint for success. My sister Emma followed that blueprint perfectly. Stanford MBA, landed a 6-figure job at McKinsey Consulting, bought a house in Palo Alto, married another consultant. She was the golden child, the proof that the Chen family formula worked. Then there was me. I graduated from UC Berkeley with a marketing degree, worked at 3 different corporate jobs over 4 years, and hated every single day. I felt like I was suffocating in those gray cubicles, attending pointless meetings, creating PowerPoint presentations that nobody cared. About at family dinners, the conversation was always the same. Dad would ask, "Sarah, how's work?" I'd say, "Fine." And then Emma would talk about her latest promotion, her new client, her stock options. I felt invisible, like the family disappointment who couldn't figure out how to be successful. But I had this secret passion that I never told anyone about. Since college, I'd been obsessed with creating custom pet accessories. I know it sounds random, but I had this rescue dog named Boba, and I started making him these elaborate costumes and accessories. Nothing fancy, just fun. Creative stuff. That made him look adorable. My friends would see Boba's outfits and beg me to make similar things for their pets. I'd spend weekends in my tiny apartment, sewing and crafting, and it was the only time I felt truly happy. But I never considered it a real business opportunity. It was just a hobby. Something fun I did to escape the corporate world I hated. The lightbulb moment happened on a random Tuesday in March 2023. I was scrolling through TikTok during my lunch break at my marketing job, watching pet videos, when I saw this viral video of a golden retriever wearing a basic Halloween costume. It had 12 million views. I looked at this simple, mass-produced costume and thought, I can make something 10 times better than this. That's when it hit me. What if I created a business making custom, high-quality pet costumes and accessories, but marketed them specifically for social media? Pet parents who wanted their fur babies to go viral. I spent the next 3 weeks researching everything. Market size, competitors, manufacturing costs, social media trends. I discovered that the pet industry was worth $261 billion globally, and pet costumes were one of the fastest growing segments. But most products were cheap, generic, mass-produced junk from overseas. My idea was different. Possum couture, custom. Handmade pet costumes and accessories designed specifically to make pets Instagram and TikTok famous. Each piece would be unique, high quality, and come with a social media strategy guide for pet parents. I was so excited I could barely sleep. I created a business plan, designed mock-ups, calculated startup costs. I needed $15,000 to get started, materials, equipment, initial inventory, website development, marketing budget dot, but I knew I couldn't do it alone. I needed support, encouragement, maybe even financial help from my family. So I decided to present my idea at our monthly family dinner. Big mistake. It was a Sunday evening in April. Mom had made her famous dumplings. Dad was in a good mood because the Warriors had won and Emma was visiting from our business trip to New York. Perfect timing. I thought after dinner I stood up and said, I have something important to share with everyone. I've been working on a business idea and I'd love your feedback. I pulled out my laptop and gave them the full presentation. Market research, target demographics, revenue projections, sample designs. I was so passionate, so excited explaining how pet parents were spending billions on their pets, how social media was driving demand for unique pet products. When I finished, there was this long, uncomfortable silence. Then Dad started chuckling. Not a supportive chuckle, a dismissive one. Sarah, he said, you want to quit your stable marketing job to make dog costumes? Emma jumped in. Sarah, this is honestly embarrassing. You have a college degree. You could be building a real career and instead you want to play dress up with pets. Mom tried to be gentler, but her words cut just as deep. Honey, maybe this could be a nice side hobby, but you need to think about your future. What about health insurance? Retirement savings? What happens when this fad passes? The worst part was their tone. They weren't just disagreeing with my business idea. They were laughing at my dream. The conversation that night got progressively worse. Dad pulled out his phone and started showing me job listings. Look, Sarah, Google is hiring marketing managers. Apple has openings. Real companies with real features. Emma was even more brutal. Sarah, I love you, but this is exactly why you've never been successful. You chase these ridiculous fantasies instead of focusing on building actual wealth and stability. But the market research shows I started. Market research? Emma interrupted. Sarah, I work with Fortune 500 companies. I know what real business looks like. This isn't business. This is arts and crafts. Mom tried to mediate, but even her support was devastating. Sarah, we just want you to be secure. Remember when you wanted to be an artist in high school? Or when you thought you'd become a travel blogger? You have a pattern of chasing unrealistic dreams. That hit like a punch to the gut. They were right about my past phases, but this felt different. This felt real. Dad delivered the final blow. Sarah, if you quit your job for this, don't expect us to bail you out when it fails. We've worked too hard to watch you throw your life away on dog costumes. I left that dinner feeling completely crushed. For the next 2 weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about their words. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was being ridiculous. Maybe I should just accept that I was meant for a boring corporate life. But then something happened that changed everything. I was walking Boba in Golden Gate Park, and he was wearing this elaborate superhero costume I made him. A woman stopped me and said, "Oh my God, where did you get that costume? It's incredible." When I told her I made it, she immediately asked if I could make one for her French bulldog. She offered to pay me $150 on the spot. Then her friend wanted one. Then her friend's friend. Within a week, I had 5 orders just from word of mouth. I started posting pictures of Boba and my creations on my personal Instagram, and people went crazy. Comments like, "I need this for my dog," and "This is the cutest thing I've ever seen." That's when I realized my family wasn't just wrong. They were blind to a massive opportunity. While they were focused on traditional definitions of success, I was seeing a market that was exploding right in front of us. I made a decision that terrified me. I was going to prove them wrong, with or without their support. I decided to start Possum Couture with or without my family's blessing. I had $8,000 in savings, not the $15,000 I planned for, but enough to get started. I kept my day job but worked on the business every evening and weekend. My tiny apartment became a workshop. I bought a professional sewing machine, invested in high-quality materials, and started creating my first collection. I designed costumes, inspired by viral trends, superhero outfits, Disney characters, seasonal themes, even custom replicas of famous movie costumes. But here's what made Possum Couture different. Every costume came with a social media success kit. Professional. Photography tips, hashtag strategies, optimal posting times, even suggested captions. I wasn't just selling costumes. I was selling the dream of pet fame. I launched my website in June 2023 with 20 designs. My first day, I sold exactly 0 costumes. Day 2, 0. Day 3, 1 costume to my neighbor who felt sorry for me, but I kept posting content on TikTok and Instagram. Pictures of Boba modeling my creations, behind-the-scenes videos of my design process, tips for pet photography. I was posting 3 times a day, engaging with every comment, following pet influencers, studying what went viral. Then it happened. 3 weeks after launch, I posted a video of Boba wearing a custom Spider-Man costume I'd made, complete with web shooters and a mask. The video was simple, just Boba saving a toy cat from a cardboard building I constructed. I posted it at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday and went to bed. When I woke up, my phone was exploding with notifications. The video had 2.3 million views overnight. My website had crashed from traffic. My email was flooded with orders by the end of that week. I had 847 orders and had made more money in 5 days than I made in 2 months at my corporate job. The Spider-Man costume became my signature piece. I couldn't make them fast enough. The real validation came when major pet influencers started reaching out. At Golden Retriever Life, with 4.2 million followers, wanted to feature my costumes. At Cats of Instagram asked about a collaboration. Suddenly, I wasn't just a girl making dog costumes in her apartment. I was a legitimate business owner in a booming industry. The orders kept pouring in. I had to quit my day job just to keep up with demand. I hired my first employee, then my second, then my third. I moved out of my apartment into a real workspace, and through all of this success, my family remained completely silent. No congratulations. No acknowledgement. Nothing. They were waiting for me to fail. Success brought challenges I never anticipated. By August, I was getting 200 orders per day, but I was completely overwhelmed. I was working 18-hour days, sleeping 4 hours a night, and making mistakes that cost me money and customers. My biggest crisis came in September. I had a massive order for 500 Halloween costumes from a pet store chain, due in 3 weeks. It was a $75,000 order that could change everything. But my small team couldn't handle the volume, and I couldn't afford to hire more people until I got paid. I was stressed beyond belief, drinking too much coffee, barely eating. One night, I was working until 3 a.m. when my sewing machine broke down. I sat on my workshop floor and cried. For the first time since starting the business, I thought about calling my family for help, but instead, I called my customers. I sent a personal email to everyone who had ordered Halloween costumes, explaining my situation honestly. I offered full refunds or a 20% discount for delayed delivery. The response shocked me. Instead of demanding refunds, customers started offering to help. Some offered to pay up front to help with cash flow. Others shared my story on social media, generating even more support. A few customers who were seamstresses even volunteered to help with production. That crisis taught me something crucial. Authenticity and transparency create deeper connections than perfect execution. My customers weren't just buying costumes. They were investing in my dream. I fulfilled that Halloween order with 2 days to spare. The pet store chain was so impressed with the quality and my customer service that they placed an order for Christmas costumes worth $150 by November. Possum Couture was generating $50,000 per month in revenue. I had 8 employees, 3,000 square foot workshop, and partnerships with major pet retailers. I was featured in Entrepreneur magazine as one of under 30 pet industry innovators, but the moment that changed everything with my family happened in December. I was at a coffee shop near my parents' house when I overheard 2 women talking about their dogs' Christmas outfits. One said, I got mine from this amazing company called Possum Couture. The owner is this brilliant young woman who started the business from nothing. I realized one of the women was Mrs. Wong, my parents' neighbor for 15 years. She had no idea I was sitting 2 tables away, listening to her praise my business to her friend. That's when I knew it was time to face my family again. I decided to surprise my family at our December family dinner. I hadn't been to one since that disastrous April evening when they laughed at my idea. Mom had been texting me for months, asking me to come home, but I'd been too hurt and too busy to face them. I walked into their house carrying a gift bag filled with custom pet accessories I'd made for their friends. Pets, Mrs. Wang's corgi, the neighbor's golden retriever, even a costume for Emma's cat, Mr. Whiskers. The moment I walked in, the energy was different. Dad looked uncomfortable, Mom seemed nervous, and Emma was unusually quiet. "Sarah," Mom said, rushing to hug me. "We've missed you so much. How's work?" I smiled and said, "Work is incredible. Actually, I have some news to share." I pulled out my laptop and showed them my business metrics. $400,000 in revenue over 8 months, 15,000 customers. Features in major magazines. Partnerships with national retailers. The silence was deafening. But this time it wasn't dismissive, it was shock. Dad was the first to speak. "Sarah, these numbers ... are they real?" "Completely real." "Dad, remember when you said I should get a job at Google?" Google's marketing department actually reached out to me about a consulting contract. They want to learn how I built such an engaged social media following. Emma's jaw was literally hanging open. "Sarah, you're making more money than I am." "Actually," I said, pulling out a job offer I prepared. "I'm looking for a head of marketing. Someone with corporate experience who understands scaling businesses. The salary is $120,000 plus equity. Interested?" Emma stared at the offer letter. She was making $95,000 at McKinsey and hating every day of it. Mom started crying, happy tears this time. "Sarah, we're so sorry. We were so wrong about you, about your idea, about everything." Dad, who never admits he's wrong about anything, said quietly, "Sarah, I owe you an apology. I was scared for you, but I should have supported your dream instead of crushing it." The most satisfying moment came when Dad asked, "How did you know this would work when we couldn't see it?" "Because," I said, "you were looking at it as a traditional business. I was looking at it as a social media phenomenon." "You saw dog costumes?" "I saw viral content, community building, and emotional connection. Different perspectives, different results. Emma took the job. She quit McKinsey and became my head of marketing, and she's incredible at it. She brought corporate strategy to my creative vision, and together we built something neither of us could have created alone." Today, 18 months after that humiliating family dinner, Possum Couture is a $3.2 million business. We have 25 employees, partnerships with Target, Petco, and Chewy, and we've been featured on Shark Tank where we got offers from 3 sharks, but the real victory isn't the money or the recognition. It's the transformation in my family relationships. Dad now introduces me to his friends as my daughter, the successful entrepreneur. He's actually started an Instagram account just to share pictures of pets wearing my costumes. Mom volunteers at our local animal shelter and brings them free costumes for adoption events. Emma and I work together every day, and our relationship has never been stronger. She tells me regularly that leaving McKinsey to join Possum Couture was the best decision she ever made. Last month, we had our biggest viral moment yet. A video of a rescue dog wearing one of our superhero costumes got 47 million views on TikTok. That single video generated $847,000 in sales in 24 hours and crashed our website again. But this time, we were ready for it. The most meaningful moment came last week. Dad called me into his home office and showed me a framed article about Possum Couture from Forbes magazine. He'd hung it right next to Emma's MBA diploma. "Sarah," he said, "I want you to know that I'm not just proud of your success. I'm proud that you had the courage to pursue your dream when everyone, including me, told you it was impossible. Here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who love you most will be the ones who doubt you most. Not because they don't believe in you, but because they're afraid of seeing you fail. But if you truly believe in your vision, if you're willing to work harder than everyone else, and if you can turn criticism into fuel instead of letting it crush you, you can prove everyone wrong, including yourself. My family's laughter didn't break me. It made me stronger. And now, the sweetest sound in the world isn't their apology. It's the sound of their genuine pride in what I've built.